guys, welcome back to Medical Coding with Blue. Today's episode is all about my favorite websites for medical coders. If you are brand new to my channel, welcome. I am Blue, I'm a medical coder. Okay guys, so I'm going to be talking about some of the resource websites that I personally use on a frequent basis, and hopefully these will help you as well. I'm going to be leaving the links for these in the description box below, so that is where you will find them. Now, this is not an ad for any of these organizations, okay? These are it's just public information that's out there that I like to share because, you know, you all are medical coders or medical coding students, and it's very helpful to know where some of these are, these hidden gems. But, so, here we go. All right, the first one I'm going to talk about is CMS. Now, a lot of people will tell me, Blue, it's so much to do on there. There's just so many, you know, rabbit holes that you can go down on the CMS website. That is why I'm leaving the landing page for the Medicare Learning Network, which is what I recommend, right, in the description box below, okay? So when you get to this landing page, it talks about compliance, right? And for a lot of you that are asking me what are some references on compliance, I have said many times to go to CMS. So this is the exact landing page that I am talking about, all right? And when you get here, there's 124 Medicare Learning Network publications and multimedia entries, right, on this page. And there's everything about provider compliance, payment policy, preventative services, and there's even a booklet on the second page about evaluation and management that you can read. And it's all about the updates. It was last updated in August of 2023. So if you are studying evaluation and management, this is a very good resource to look at while you're studying. And if you're preparing for your exam, this is also a really good place to get a good idea of like some of those things that they're talking about when it comes to compliance and things. And all of that everything is right here. You just have to click on the links, right? They talk about payment policies, provider compliance. It talks about, you know, complying with laboratory services, documentation requirements. It talks about that. It talks about federally qualified healthcare centers and rural health. And there's just a plethora of things on this landing page alone. And so you want to look at this page. There's also plenty of other articles on the CMS website that you can access that relates to HIPAA and things like that. And you can go to the little spyglass. Let's see if I can, okay. And then I go HIPAA, and it brings it right up. The Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act of 1996. And it has a whole article. It's got a bunch of articles. It talks about covered entities, privacy and security information. It talks about other things, you know, and just different topics. So this again is a very helpful landing page, and you can just take full advantage of this website by going to that spyglass that's up in the top. It looks like a little spyglass, right? And you click on that, and then you can type in whatever you're looking for, okay? So if it is HIPAA, you can put it in there. If it's high tech, you can put it in there. And again, you have the whole list of all of the Medicare Learning Network publications that you can go through. So again, this is a very helpful website for those that are looking to study for their exam and looking for those compliance links to kind of help them to study even more. It's all here, okay? So take the time to look through it. It is a lot, yes, but once you start exploring, you have to want to explore. If you're not exploring these websites and finding out all of the information that is available on them, you're missing out, literally. And you may end up paying for like books or whatever, or classes, when you can access all of this information for free. I'm just saying. So I'm going to leave this link in the description box. Now, the next one is from Johns Hopkins Medicine. Now, I like their particular platform. There's a lot of platforms out there. I've gone to many different ones, but I really like theirs. And this is a very, very broad base of knowledge when it comes to like conditions, body conditions, and things like that. So I'm going to leave this one. It's hopkinsmedicine.org. So it you have a landing page here, and it talks about like the brain, the nerves, and the spine. Then it talks about, the heart, the kidneys, the head, the neck, the eyes, the stomach. And then you can view a full list, and it has a whole list of all these conditions. And when you go and you click on any of these, right? Like say for instance, you want to click on arthritis. And so when you click on arthritis, it gives you an overview about what arthritis is, what osteoarthritis is, and what rheumatoid arthritis is, because there are different things, right? And being a good medical coder is about understanding the body and everything that goes on with it, and understanding these subtle differences between different titles of different conditions, basically, right? And then it talks about other forms of arthritis, right? Like gout, and then it talks about all these other conditions that are there. And then it talks about what causes arthritis. So it goes through all of those, and like who's at risk, and what are the symptoms, and all those kinds of things. So when you're looking at that, that's going to help you to better understand what you're looking at if you happen to be working in one of those clinics where you see a lot of those people who have those conditions. And again, it's filled with everything, a lot of different diagnoses. And so that way you can check it out, you can look at it. It talks about the treatment options and things, so there's a lot of things that you can discover just on the Hopkins Medicine website. So that's hopkinsmedicine.org. Again, not a ad for them, but this is a great reference for coders, because this gets us in where we need to be, where it's not just like WebMD, right? It's not just like that. It's talking about, okay, this is from this organization, and this is what we have all this information about these conditions here. So I recommend looking at these because again, it's very helpful for coders to understand in detail what these conditions include, what is all, part of it. And you don't have to read this all in one day, guys. This is just a reference. So don't get overwhelmed about this, okay? Again, they're references. So when you get out of school and you're coding and you find yourself like, gosh, I don't know if this is a symptom of this condition, how do I find out more? This is a great reference website to go to, so that way you can figure that out, okay? Again, as I've said, being a good medical coder is all about knowing how to do your research, right? But you can get really lost on these websites, because lost in the fact that you can be with them for a long time looking at all this information, and the time just goes by. At least that's what happens to me. Anyway, so there's that one. So that's website number 2. Now, let's go to one that's specifically about coding. So justcoding.com. So a lot of you have heard me mention this before, but for my new folks, justcoding.com. Again, not an ad for them, but on this website, you can sign up for a paid subscription and a free subscription. Now, a paid subscription is going to give you access to like CEUs and all kinds of articles and things like that that are not available on the free version. Now, the free version is just as good, because the free version has 5 question coding quizzes that you can take. Yes, they're multiple choice, and all you have to do though when you're looking those up, and they break them down by ICD-10-CM, ICD-10-PCS, and CPT. So if you want to get a little bit of extra practice, it's a little 5 question quizzes that are put together, and they're based on like by site, right? Musculoskeletal, urinary, that kind of thing. So they're based on those different ones. And so you can look up the procedure codes, you can look up the diagnosis codes based on whatever you're happening to look up at the time. So when you do that, right, and you're going through, you can cover up the multiple choice answers. You're on your computer, obviously, but you can, use like a sticky note or something, anything to like kind of like cover it up if you don't want to put sticky on your computer screen. I wouldn't recommend that, but just something to kind of cover up the answer, and then take the time to look up and practice getting with the books. A lot of people have been telling me lately how they feel overwhelmed with school, and they feel overwhelmed with coding. And a lot of times it's because they feel that little bit of insecurity because they couldn't find a code, or they couldn't find a procedure. And then all of a sudden now they're questioning themselves. It's about practice, practice, practice. And that is a really good website for practice, because it's, number one, it is a free resource, and that's fantastic given the fact that we have to spend so much money to maintain our credentials, right? But we don't have to spend all this money unnecessarily learning when there are free resources like that. And I will say this also, because I've had somebody say this before, well, those were really easy. Okay, they may have been easy for you, but again, it's a practice in paying attention to detail, okay? And don't insult something that is really helpful to you, okay? And you should be grateful for it, all right? That's the thing. A lot of times when people are not expressing their gratitude, as far as like, there's free things like this out there, and while you may think, oh, well, this is easy, you know, go through those a few times and let's see if you don't start making mistakes, right? And if you're looking at the answers that, yeah, you're doing process of elimination, it may be easier, but why don't you try challenging yourself and covering up those answers? You know, guys, it is about showing your gratitude. It is about, you know, being present when you are studying, so that way you can start to get all of those things. You can start to learn and experience the whole thing, right? Instead of just sitting here judging a free product and, you know, thinking, you don't need to do that. Yeah, you should do it. You should practice. Look at the question, look up the code, and then check from your multiple choice and then check off the correct answer. Okay, that's just another way to kind of challenge yourself. And they also have some articles on here that are free, but for the most part they are for the members for the members that are paid members. But again, if you do not have your credential yet, I mentioned this the other day, but if you do not have your credential yet, do not worry about getting continuing education units right now, because none of the continuing education units that you are earning before you get your certification count. None of them. So just make sure that you know that, guys, okay? Because like I said, a lot of people think that they can rack up all of these CEUs when they get their certification, and then they're going to try to report them. The only time that those CEUs are going to be valid for that certification is when they are earned after you earn your certification. I'm just saying. So just make sure that you know that. Don't get all wrapped up into that and trying to get all your CEUs now. And that's for both associations, because last I checked, yeah. But just so you know, either AHEMA or AAPC, you have to earn those CEUs after you get your certification. Okay, so I'm just saying. But I love Just Coding. It is a fantastic website to begin with. It is HC Pro. You can see the banner there for the boot camps. So HC Pro does have boot camps, right? Now, HC Pro has wonderful products. I have their book. You can see it in the back, but I'm not going to show it on here because it's going to be backwards and people complain and blah, blah, blah. But I love HC Pro. I love their books. And I have been through 2 of their boot camps. I've been through the inpatient coding boot camp and the CDI boot camp. The inpatient coding boot camp, because I already knew some things about inpatient coding, that was really helpful for me going into that boot camp, okay? So if you are interested in pursuing any of those boot camps through HC Pro, just know they are a little pricey. It's a little over $1,000, okay, for those boot camps. So just make sure that you are really serious. You only get 60 days to work with those boot camps, okay, if you choose to do that. Now, like I said, I knew some things about inpatient coding before I went into the inpatient coding boot camp. So that was helpful. If you do not know, I do not recommend going through one of those boot camps, okay? I do not recommend it unless you just want to just throw your money away, because it's going to be fast and it's a lot, okay? And you're teaching yourself. This is not, well, they do have instructor-led on, I think I saw on some of them, but, you know, you have to check. But just make sure that you know you're going to be doing a lot of this study by yourself. And so that's why I say, unless you already know some things, you got a good grasp of inpatient, then I would recommend that. If not, then I wouldn't recommend it, okay? The CDI one was... one of the people from Actus was the one who designed that program. So that is very comprehensive. And I had a time with it myself. But it was really good though. I learned a lot from that program, and I think that it was it was fantastic for me. But like I said, if you are interested in pursuing CDI, they have a great, fantastic boot camp. But again, you have to know a little bit about the subject before you go into these boot camps. That's just my advice anyway, if you want to be successful in that. So, like I said, with Just Coding, you can sign up for the free version. Okay, sign up for the free version and take advantage of those 5-question coding quizzes. There's a new one that comes out every month. Okay, so you have access to all the ones that have been put out. And again, guys, I think they're great. And they're really awesome to study with, especially if you're studying for ICD-10 PCS. There's a lot of things that are there too. You can just cover it up and then look up the code and then boom, there you go. Okay, extra practice, all right? So the other one that I want to talk about is so queries. If you are taking an AHIMA exam and they talk about queries is one of the domains for the AHIMA exams. So I am going to leave the link for the guidelines for achieving a compliant query practice. This is the 2019 update version. But you can take a look at this, right? And make sure that you read it. If you're practicing for your exam, make sure that you read it, because again, queries is one of those things that is tested on these exams, all right? Now, AAPC, I don't know how deep they go into queries, but you should know about queries, obviously, being with AAPC. So if any medical coding certification that you're sitting for, you should know, and this should be part of the required reading. Okay, I'm just saying. But it's a great article. It's really long. Okay, but it's you can listen to it or you can read it. Okay. Now I'm gonna tell you guys how to listen to these articles, right? So if you go through Microsoft Edge and then you click on any of the words, there should be 3 little dots that pop up, right? It's called an ellipses. So when you click on that, it will give you like a big expanded menu, right? And it'll say like all these things like copy and all this other stuff. And then there should be a option for read aloud. And that's what you want to click on, so that way you can listen to, this, or you can listen to the guidelines, you can listen to any of those things. That's how you do it. For those of you that don't know how to hit that read aloud feature, it works in Microsoft Edge. So if you're trying to go through Chrome, I haven't been able to see it work through Chrome, but if you listen to it through Microsoft Edge, it'll work. So, that's just a little thing out there that I could tell you about. So do that if you want to listen to them or read them. Okay, guys, it's important to read. Reading is so critical to these exams, because all of these exams are all timed exams. And with the HEMA, you have roughly 2 minutes per question. With AAPC, you have 2 minutes, 40 seconds per question. So that's quite a bit of difference in time. And when you think about it, right, it does add up. But at the same time, this is why you train yourself to read and read quickly, because after a while, it's like building a muscle. You will start to read faster. You may be reading slow at the beginning, but it doesn't mean that that's the way that it's going to stay. The more you read, the faster you will read, okay? So that's very important. But I understand your eyes can get tired, so try that read it loud feature, so that way maybe that will help you. And then finally, because I got 2 minutes before I have my my next appointment, so I'm going to say this one really quick. The Merc Manual. Now, I told y'all about the Merc Manual. I love the book, but there's also the online version, all right? And with the online version, what the Merc Manual is, it's a more in-depth book about the body. And it talks about the symptoms, it talks about the treatments and things like that for certain conditions and things. So there's a lot you can learn. So if you are struggling with medical terminology, if you're struggling with anatomy, this is a great website for you, okay? So it's free. All right, guys, it's free. There are thousands of topics. There are how-to videos, and these how-to videos can be very, excuse me, they can be very beneficial to new coders, because then you can see what certain procedures are and what does it mean when they're doing this type of casting or when they're doing this type of procedure. You're going to be able to know this because you saw a how-to video, right? So that's just, it's a one-stop shop here. And again, this is a great reference tool. It's a great resource if you need this. Okay, so understanding the conditions, guys, it's just as important as knowing how to look up the codes, right? Because then you're going to know what is included with what. Because that's the biggest question I get a lot of times from brand new coders is, how do I know what is included? How do I know? By going to websites like that. So again, all of these links are in the description box below. Okay, so with that said, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up. So if this video helped you, please like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see y'all next time. Have a great weekend, everybody. Bye.